Prepare for Warhammer, but let's make it 40,000. That's right, it's the Large Blast podcast, best Warhammer 40,000 podcast around. I'm your host, Stony, and I'm joined, as always, by Welshie.
Halo, Halo, Halo.
And Matt.
What's above your head?
It's the Halo Stars episode of the Large Blast podcast, where we take a little peek at the spooky, scary stars that surround the universe. But before then, we like to get things kicked off with a little something we call Hobbies Goings On. Have a look at the goings on in the hosts' lives. So, Matt, what have you been up to?
Still not a lot. We've just had our long bank holiday weekend here in the UK. So we've had Friday off and Monday off work. I said last night I was doing some painting, and I've had one other night doing painting, and it's like the most I've done painting wise fucking ages. And I finished Bretonian Knight on foot.
I fucking knew you were going to say Bretonian all the way through that thing where you're like, oh, I've not had a lot of chance to do it. You're just building us up for some lame ass Bretonian.
Yeah. I also finished a standard bearer for Imperial Guard standard bearer. Both of which
with that, mate. The depressing start. I haven't done anything. Should have just gone. Yeah, I've painted the standard bearer for the Imperial Guard.
Yeah, I know, but
That's
they've
what the
been
fans
like
want to hear. Fuck off with these knights.
2 months. 2 months it's taken me to paint them. At least that's what it feels like. It is about 2 months. So yeah, otherwise not a great deal. But I think I might be getting back into the zone. You know, I haven't really been feeling it. One of the reasons why I haven't been doing much hobby.
But you feel it awakening. You feel the painter awakening in you.
Yeah. You know what it's like when you kind of go in and out of it. And then the other night, I just sort of picked up a brush and it just sort of came back. So
started talking to you. Where have you been, Matt?
Yeah. Hey,
I want you to tickle your models with me, baby.
Hey, why don't you tickle my end? Hey.
Or your little Bretonians are like, "Oi, sire, why haven't you picked me to be painted?"
Yeah. Give me more mead. Yeah.
Well, cool, good, happy days. We've got some Bretonians are back in. Matt is back, baby. So, Welshie, what have you been up to?
So I've had a bit of a forced break. Really, I've been doing what I call adult Warhammer. I've had to do some DIY. I've been plastering some walls and painting and preparing. So I haven't done that much either, to be honest. But I have prepped a load of your Inquisitor style models. I've bought a new painting mat, nice cutting board. I've got a nice phone holder for recording videos. So as soon as I've got this bit of DIY out the way, I will be painting those Inquisitor models up. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to set myself a 3 or 4 color challenge. I haven't decided yet, but I'm going to look at the kind of Blanchitsu style and just go, right, I can have brown, red, yellow, and then obviously white and black, and just see if I can paint the models with a combination of those colors. Just have a bit of a challenge, really, something a bit different. So yeah, that's coming up, but I haven't got too much done other than painting big old walls, covering up all of the like chaos.
You haven't been using your Warhammer painting brushes to do the walls, have you?
That might be why it's taken a week. Yeah, that might explain things.
I've dry brushed the wall. It took forever.
Well, I did also buy a new set of dry brushes, which I'm very excited about. I told you ages ago, I bought one of those nice domed Artist Opus ones. But I only had it in one size, so I've now got the full size range, so I can get a little one in, and they're bloody brilliant, honestly.
Nice. No, they're what do you call them? The Artist Opus.
Yeah, they're the white. So I've got one of the white Artist Opus ones, and I've actually just bought the Army Painter version because it was just a cheaper pack of 3 different sizes. But it's the same deal. It's like instead of a rectangle, it's circular in nature, and then it's a kind of domed. Yeah, almost like a makeup brush.
Yeah, I was going to say it looks a bit like a makeup thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, and they're just way better at. They're easier to clean. They're easier to pick out the details. I really like them. So but I've needed a little one to get into the cracks and crevices for a while. So expect to see those on the new models as well.
You can now dry your cracks and crevices with ease, any size.
Yeah,
nice.
About you, Stoney, you've been on the design train again?
Well, there's been a couple. I guess
paint schemes.
I guess there's a couple of things going on, really. I guess there's one thing is, like Matt said, I've been feeling a little bit like, oh, I want to do some painting. I've been like, I never really watch like YouTube shorts and stuff. They really annoy me on my like feed. But like I saw one the other day. I've fucked up my algorithm again. Like it's not fucked up enough as it is. But like I fucked up my algorithm by watching a YouTube short of someone painting like with non-metallic metals, doing like a really cool one. And I was
no
like,
more big-titted goth girls for you. It's
oh
all
damn it!
painted
Sorry,
dweebs.
like curses. So now I've got just got all these like YouTube shorts about people painting all over my like YouTube suggested page.
Yeah.
But I have been but it's my own fault because I have been watching them and I'm like, you know what, I want to do some non-metallic metal. But like I remember last time I tried to do it, I just ended up like painting it for about 5 seconds and then just going back to my usual way of painting. So I'm gonna like really have a go with it.
It takes forever. Like
Yeah.
even when you get used to the blending, if you're doing wet blending or whatever, like, and you get it done on one panel, you then kind of zoom out and realize you've got 50 other panels to do.
Yeah.
And you'd rather paint a tank.
But I might even be happy just painting one panel. Do you know what I mean?
Okay,
Like
yeah,
I just got like an itch that needs scratching, I feel like. And it's maybe it'll pass. Maybe it's a spring thing. It's obviously going around. Matt's feeling it too. So, maybe that is it. But other than that, I've been very naughty on my ZBrushing. You see, I because scale's always a real pain in the arse. So what I did was I
purchased a Games Workshop approved miniature,
which I can just like pull into stuff when I'm making it and just make it the same size as the Games Workshop one, So you're just like, oh, well, how long does the forearm have to be? Well, if you measure it from this point, it's blah, blah, blah long. And if you measure it from this point, it's whatever long. And now it's just like, now I just line it up with the Games Workshop one, knick, knack, moo, done. But the other thing I've been doing, because I've been doing just down to like doing my Noise Boy boss, like the champion guy. So I've been working on him and he looks quite cool, but he's a lot more like some of his armor and stuff is a bit more elaborate than the other guys. And I like him and it's like, but he doesn't really seem in keeping. So do I have to go back and like change their armor or something? So like it's kind of opened up another can of worms.
I think it's fine to have like the sergeant with like more ornate armor or something like that. It could be like some kind of relic armor.
I'm just thinking I might do some sort of binding themes that sort of bring them all together, So like the kind of the twiddly bits are the same. But one other thing I did, and I don't know how much of this will make it into the podcast, but like I made a loose,
distinct original model,
just like a straight up,
legally distinct creation of my own.
It was a bit of a palette cleanser, but then it's also kind of like it's difficult to know what to do with
original art.
Like I've been like awash with thoughts and feelings, boys, over these last few weeks trying to think about this because I wouldn't say it took me a long time, but it is a cool model. It is definitely a rip-off of and I was kind of thinking because I remember when we talked to James Ontario about this stuff, he's obviously a guy I've got a lot of respect for. He's a man who built a business by himself and everything. I respect his opinions, and like, and I noticed that they had done like a green stuff Lucius the Eternal model, and like, and I noticed, but also when we spoke to him, he was kind of like 3D printing, like, nah, like not really for me. So it's obviously the kind of and maybe I'm just realizing this, which is something which everybody else already realizes, but it's the reproduction, obviously having an STL.
Yeah. I think when we spoke to him, that's what we came down because you challenged him on that, I think, in the interview and said, if you're doing it from scratch, what's the difference? And he said 100 people can't print my model.
I mean, that's it, exactly. And what I'm kind of wondering is like, what if I was to like print the model and then sell it on the understanding that after I'd sold it, the STL would be deleted? Like, would that count? Like, could I sell that as like a
well, you just don't sell the STLs and they have to buy printed ones, but
or you just email large either way, whatever it is, I don't know. But so I don't really know what to do with it. Probably nothing at the moment. I was thinking, I'll print one off for Welshie for his like Slanesh army and like somebody, cool. But like it's just a bit like a I've got this like illicit thing that I've made, sat in my house. So I don't know don't know what to do with it necessarily, but it was really fun to make and like really quick and kind of easy compared to what I'd been doing. So that was nice.
I assume you're going to cut most of that, but his name is James Otero, not Ontario.
Ontario, yeah.
Finance, cutting edge technology. Accurate information is the Large Blast podcast news. Hear every episode.
So we're recording this on April Fool's Day, and Games Workshop have joined in with the fun. Everyone loves it when big corporations join in with the fun like this by releasing a jewelry catalogue. 24-carat warp stone ring, claw set, looks like 18-carat yellow gold. Yeah, badly cut stone though. Badly cut stone.
Oh, we wanted to get. I wanted to get your opinion on this, Stoney, because we know you've got a bit of a background in jewelry design and making.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the either the setter or the stone cutter have done a bad job, because one of those claws has taken a big chunk out of that stone. But anyway, that's for all my jewelry heads out there.
The clip, the clip from on the website was actually quite funny. It was like an old school, like 90s telly shopping video clip that was voiced over by like a goblin going through a load of old stock footage of green rings, and then they had one of those news feed scrolls along the bottom with all of this stuff that's happening in the cities of Sigmar in the news. It's worth I mean, yeah, it's tongue-in-cheek fucking April Fool's rubbish, but it was quite enjoyable. So give it a look.
Kill Team. Is there no end to their talent? They've made squats cool. Votan Kill Team of a bunch of guys with cool ass coats with big ass guns, looking pretty cool. So these are squats that we actually like. Voltans, should I say, that we're kind of into.
Yeah, I like these for Kill Team. I think we had our first miss last release on Kill Team. We weren't such a fan of the Mandrakes, although we liked the Night Lords half of the box. But these are Hernkin Scouts, so it's the same fellas that ride the motorbikes in the Votan range. But I don't understand Votan lore, but I don't think they're like straight up Votan. They're kind of like Votan auxiliaries. So they're obviously still little, but they've got their own kind of personality, which I personally enjoy.
Yeah, they are cool. Each one of these little characters has his own little personality. That's one of the cool things that you get a chance with Kill Team, is like, you know that thing people do where they like put their names on the bases, and you can tell they've like put a bit of love into each character. You could do that with this team. I mean, I like these models. These are cool.
Yeah, I do. The guy with the little hat. What do you reckon, Matt? Did you see these?
Yeah, the little hat's cool. The guy with the
little beanie.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like the British one of the bunch,
Yeah,
doesn't he?
that's it, yeah, it's sort of a nod to
He's
special
gonna have an
forces
accent. He's
or
probably
something.
got like a boxer dog
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
But you're right, loads of personality. One with a bow and arrow and an axe, and I like that the sniper is in exactly the same position as the Space Marine Eliminators. I'd like to see the two next to each other with a different scale.
Fuck it. I mean, they look a bit more grimdark.
Yeah. I see I pick up what you're saying about the snipers. There really is very few approved Games Workshop sniper positions that someone can be in, and this is definitely one of them. I feel like the just looking over the sight, picking his target kind of job.
Yeah, absolutely. And they come in the box with, so these were previewed at Adepticon, with some new Brood Brothers sculpts, which I really like. So Gene Stealer Cult Brood Brothers Kill Team. Just freshened up Imperial Guardsmen that are a little bit Gene Stealery.
They're getting a bit lumpy.
Like. Yeah, lumpy on the head.
Yeah.
Some cool
Although one of them
weapons.
does seem to have a Gene Stealer hand, which is a dead giveaway.
Yeah, I think by this point you've realised that your captain might not be quite right. Well, there's another one with like a spike coming out of his elbow, like a little mini claw.
Little vestigial elbow spike. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll definitely be getting these.
These are cool, and they're the new Cadian uniforms, if you like. So they're the new guard figures, albeit in traitor form. But I actually think these are really good as traitors, so chaos aligned. You could easily turn these into another 10-man renegade unit, which slowly Games Workshop seem to be building over the years, a collection of a renegade Imperial Guard army, which will never get released, but they're all out there.
I was just thinking it's quite cool that they're like less chaosy than the chaos ones that came out, because the chaos ones, I quite like this distinction between like, Xenos corruption and chaos corruption.
Yeah, these guys look like they have a shower. They've had a shower recently.
They've really scrubbed up. Yeah. Shaved their heads at least. They're smooth as a dolphin's ass.
And they've got I'm not sure I need to look up what this tube up the nose is for, but it always makes me think of tube up the nose on Peep Show. But I don't know why the Gene Stealer cultists have got tubes up their nose.
I feel like it must be because they're a bit sickly. I always kind of assumed it was like, they're kind of like they don't
Drains
always
mucus.
make it. He was the hardest of a bad batch of brood or whatever, and he's got to have a tube up his nose.
Well, for sure, it's a kill team box that I'll be getting because I really want to paint some squats that I like, and these guys will fit perfectly into my army.
They're much better than the existing Brood Brothers, which are just kind of like looks like someone's just chewed the head of some of the Imperial Guard stuff.
Well, they're literally a straight head swap of the Imperial Guard old Cadians. So yeah, this is nice to see.
I've got a quick bit of news that I want to put in. You guys may have remembered me talking about my Gene Stealer Cult limo being printed by a listener.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, the listener's Instagram is Paintwater Hobbies. So go and follow him. He's a bit of a fucking shit-hot painter. And hopefully you'll see the first out in the wild Gene Stealer Cult limo, which is on its way. Don't worry, it's coming. So, resin models. What's the worst thing about resin models? Sticking a bunch of tubes and random little pieces together, which classically has been the AdMech Horus Heresy range. Well, guess what? Looks like we're getting plastic Horus Heresy AdMech models. So less gluing, less fucking around, more standard kit that we've come to know and love from Games Workshop.
Matt, you're the resident AdMech guy. Are there AdMechs within the 30k resin range that you've had your eye on for a while? You might be excited to see come in plastic.
No, no. To be honest, that's a bit of a con now. But
you were here
shot
for
down.
Positive.
I want to paint some Bretonians.
Have they got horses and flags?
I had some Forge World resin AdMech guys from the 30k, and I thought they were kind of cool, but they're very like blobby, and they just stayed in the packet because they just didn't interest me, so I sold them. Although some of the vehicles were interesting. I find the weird robots not very interesting. You know, the ones that are in sort of a weird pose.
Oh, like those old school automatons. They'd look great in plastic. So would what's her name? The spider, the dark mech spider lady. Is it someone Scoria? Scoria. It's like a full-on spider.
Because it was just like a weird little video that they had, didn't they?
It was just Mars, yeah.
Yeah.
It was Mars, Horus Heresy, and then the AdMech logo. And I've made this leap myself.
Oh, okay. Well, when I watched it, I actually made a slightly different leap. I wondered whether they were going to do something with the conclusion of the War on Mars, or actually have a bit more of a fleshed out Dark Mechanicum range.
Yeah, could be some Dark Mech stuff in there as well. That'd be cool.
Could it be
That's
Dark
sort
Mech
of where I
plastic?
went.
Some plastic Dark Mech stuff.
Yeah.
I think if we see plastic Dark Mech 30k though, it puts Dark Mech 40k Codex off the table.
Yeah, I mean, it could well do that. But is Mars still not in the timeline where Horus Heresy is? Is Mars still not a war-torn, slightly traitorous planet? Like, that sort of needs to get wrapped up. I wondered whether they could be a bit of a story arc into how Mars is concluded.
I think maybe this isn't models at all. This is possibly Black Library, Siege of Terror, but on Mars.
I thought sort of both, because Mars is the second planet in the Imperium, and at the moment, and actually, as far as I can remember, I don't really, we all knew that Horus was going to die and the Emperor was going to ascend to the Golden Throne. That was all given, but how the Imperium regained control of the second planet in the Imperium, the second planet in the galaxy, that could be quite interesting. And the Imperium have basically got to re-invade the main Forge world in the galaxy and retake it without completely destroying it. That's sort of where I went with it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's a kind of separate Horus Heresy book with all the rules for that and stuff.
I think that's actually a really good point, because obviously we've wrapped up the Horus Heresy as far as all the stuff that we all know and things now. It's time for them they need to think of something else, new stuff as well. Obviously, people love the 40k story, but I do feel like there was some fatigue almost coming up to the end of it. Everybody knew that End and the Death was coming out and all that, those books and everything. And it's kind of like because it still managed to blue balls all of us by telling us just the story that we all knew forever, right? Really.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like it really this really is a chance for them to flesh out the lore, which they must have been doing for years. So it's really a chance for them to sort of stretch their legs and do something new. So I'm excited to see this, if that is indeed what it is, and not just. But I mean, this is all just speculation we've seen on like something. But yeah, that would be cool.
Rolling in my 6-4.
Wake up, Master Chief. It's me, Cortana.
Oh, hi, Cortana. What's going on? Why have you woken me up from my deep sleep status?
We have entered the Halo Stars.
Brilliant. I guess I'll just lock and load and get down there, kick everyone's asses, and be home in time for medals and champagne.
No, not those Halo Stars. My sensors are telling me we are in the Warhammer 40,000 universe at the outermost reaches of the known galaxy.
Oh, well, I'm sure it can't be too bad. Let me just open the viewing window here and see what we're in for. Oh, God. Oh, God, no. What is that? What is it eating? No!
So, Master Chief, are you ready to do what you do best and go kick some alien ass?
You know what, Cortana? Fuck this. I'm out.
What do you mean? You're humanity's last hope against alien invaders. If not you, then who will save us?
You know what, Cortana? I couldn't give a monkeys. I'm too old and too rich for this shit. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to take the shuttle and go and try to find that planet made of pussy and ice cream. This one's all up to you.
Master Chief, are you still there?
So the Halo Stars, what are they? Where are they? Who can say? But the first mention we've heard properly of the Halo Stars came way back in Rogue Trader, and it went a little something like this.
Beyond the fringes lie the halo stars. The entire galaxy is ringed with a halo of the most ancient stars, the majority nigh extinguished and circled by long-dead worlds. The desiccated secrets and horrors lie entombed beneath the surfaces of these worlds are best left unexplored. Few visit these regions, and even fewer often return.
So that's right. So this is the spookiest area of the galaxy, the most unexplored, the Halo Stars, and it's basically broken up into 4 sections.
Yeah, it's difficult to kind of find the direct definition of the Halo Stars because for ages, I can't remember when they started publishing these big maps of the galaxy, but in the galactic northwest, they had a bit that was marked Halo Stars. But then when you read some of the lore and in real life, Halo Stars are just the stars at the edge of a galaxy, like the oldest ones. So whether we're talking about the Halo Stars under the bit where it says Halo Stars on the map, or whether we're just talking about all the stuff on the outside of the galaxy, I guess is a bit debatable. But let's cover it all and see what we find.
Yeah, because it's kind of essentially like a bunch of planets and stuff that live just outside of the known universe that sort of surround the Milky Way, essentially, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think we'll look at it like that, like everything on the outskirts rather than just in one place.
I saw quite a good quote thing with, who's that really old Eldar guy?
Eldred Ulfwan.
Eldred Ulfwan, where he was sort of talking about Ulfwane, where he was talking about the Halo Stars, and they were saying, "Oh, maybe we're lucky to have them because it keeps invading forces out for the for a certain part." But he said, "Oh, maybe they were designed to keep you guys in referring to like the humans, essentially."
Like Rorschach in Watchmen.
Yeah. We're not trapped in here with you. Yeah. Wake up! So, should we have a little look at the Ghoul Stars? Ghoul Star sounds like a cool band, doesn't it? But let's have a look at Ghoul Star and see what's been going on there, Matt.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, there's some pretty weird places in the Ghoul Stars. I actually haven't looked on a map of the Milky Way where this is, so I can't picture it in my head. Does anyone know where the Ghoul Stars are on the map of the Milky
Galactic
Way?
Northeast.
Northeast.
Top right on the map. So in the segmentum obscure maledictum, whatever it's called.
Segmentum Pacificus.
No, that's the other side.
It's the opposite side. Okay, hang on. No, it's the north. I've written it in my notes. The northeast of the Segmentum Ultima. But I found a particularly interesting world that's like an emo world. It's a cemetery world, which I think is quite an interesting concept for an imperial planet. And it's the home of a quite interesting Space Marine chapter called the Death Spectres. And
I
this
read these
world,
as well. They're
this
cool.
this world is in the Ghoul Stars. The world itself is called
Occludus.
and it's where this particular chapter of Space Marines are based to protect the Ghoul Stars. So and it's kind of like outside of the Imperium. So they're kind of based outside of the Imperium, but they're there to protect the edge of human space, essentially. So they
Well, I
have
think
to
just to
monitor
pick
the
up
Ghoul
on
Stars.
outside of the Imperium before you go on, Matt, all these areas that we're talking about, part of what characterizes them is that outside of the Astronomicon light.
Yeah.
So you
That's right.
can't navigate there. Like navigators won't go there because they're essentially your compass stops working. You're out in the middle of nowhere.
So you
takes
can't
ages to get places, and this is an example of that.
So you can go there, but the risk is like the risk of traveling, especially through warp, is very, very high. So this is a particularly interesting world in the Ghoul Stars, which is another area of space that we're calling the Halo Stars, like the Kronos Expanse, which we'll go into. But this is in the northeast of Segmentum Ultima, beyond the Eastern Fringe. So it's sort of that's sort of in the direction of the Tau Empire. And there are vast tracts here of relatively unexplored wilderness space. Apparently, it was once home to many human inhabited worlds, but some ancient threat has destroyed all of those old human colonies. So they're not imperial colonies, they're pre-imperium, and they're all destroyed. So there's many, many human planets devoid of any life, and that is kind of why it's called the Ghoul Stars. So it's the land of the dead. And nobody, it's really spooky, and nobody knows why or quite what the story is behind their destruction.
Well, I'm going to have to stop you there, Matt. You see, it's Editor Stoney here. And yeah, sure, maybe we didn't have time this episode to do the best research ever, and maybe we did miss things out. But we're a combination of both busy and lazy, and honestly, this shit takes time. But have no fear, because your old buddy Editor Stoney here is coming in with some post-edit lore, some history on the Ghoul Stars. And the Ghoul Stars used to be quite a chill place to live, used to be an inhabited part of space that was pretty well established. That was before some curious Mechanicus guys found an artifact called the Echoing Vault. There was essentially a planet-sized safe disguised as a world, with rocks and seas and stuff on the surface, floating amongst the Ghoul Stars. Of course, these Mechanicus guys decided they'd just let sleeping dogs lie and leave whatever unholy eldritch horror was locked away in the box. I'm only kidding. Of course, they opened that bitch up and had a look, unleashing a bunch of tentacled horrors from another dimension that lay waste to 1,000 worlds in an event that was known as the Harrowing. The Inquisition eventually worked out how to drive back these sloppy bastards back into the vault from whence they came. And although huge sections of this have now lost to the sands of time and redacted from the records, it is very much suggested that it was a piece of Dark Age era tech that was used heretically to drive back these tentacled bastards.
Dustproof, scratch-proof, digitally recorded, read by a laser, and it's called a compact disc.
And there you have it, a brief history of the Ghoul Stars.
The text that I've read says it lies almost entirely beyond the light of the astronomic This region of space lies almost entirely beyond the light of the Astronomicon. So most navigators point blank refuse to go in there, but people do venture in, and they do because of these ancient civilizations, as is typical in the setting of 40K. You might get some rogue traders going in, but there's also stories of the Pale Wasting. Sometime during the 34th millennium, areas of worlds here were were invaded or destroyed. Human populations that were living in this area were destroyed, who had been in contact with the Imperium. And the Imperium, where the Ghoul Stars meet the Imperium, Imperial worlds were being invaded, and there was talk of star-spawned plague and nightmare engines and slaughter of whole Imperial sectors, the sectors that bordered this part of space. And weirdly, all of the information has been purged from Imperial records. So nobody really knows what happened in the 34th millennium, because obviously that's the 4th millennium of the Imperium, 4th or 5th. So Inquisitors or anybody trying to read up on it just finds that all of the knowledge has been destroyed. But there is some partial records. There's some records on the Imperial Palace, which I'll go into in a minute. But there's also rumors or partial records of it possibly being a Xenos in nature, this pale wasting. So maybe that's linked with all these ancient worlds that are destroyed.
Did you have read some stuff Xenos based of the Scythor fiends has potentially been the issue with these?
No,
things?
I read about
the
Thexian elite.
Oh, okay.
So there's two different
Scythor
Xenos.
fiends. So the Scythor fiends are like these spindly, long things with like big slashy fingers and claws, but they're made of crystal, and apparently they can just like shatter into a million bits of crystal dust and like reform somewhere else. So they're really, really creepy. And I was reading that Helbrecht put together a crusade to go and clear these Ghoul Stars of the Scythor fiends. And when he got there, they were all gone. Everyone was dead and there was nothing there. It was like a proper ghost town.
Hello, Editor Stoney, back with some post-recording fact-checking once again. You see, after the harrowing, the Ghoul Stars more or less returned to normal, but like living in a small town that contains a big sewage treatment plant, you can never really escape the sense that something doesn't smell right. And as a result, most people didn't bother moving back there, and it became more or less an empty wasteland. That's when Xenos races like the Togaran and the Scythor fiends started to flourish in the area. The Scythor fiends look like ghouls. They live in crystal castles, shoot crystals like ninja stars. They're all about they're just like kind of crystal zombies. Helbrecht and the Black Templars got pissed off with them, did a big crusade, showed up at their homeworld and did an exterminatus on it. They all went to bed, everything was cool, but when they got up the next day, they were like, bam, the planet had just magically reappeared again. So they exterminatused it again. Boom, it reappeared. Exterminatus, reappear, exterminatus, reappear. So these Scythor fiends are obviously like some weird kind of eternal zombie crystal men, which is something you do not see every day.
I think great with this stuff though, you can never really find an answer. Like when you're researching some of these things, like there's so much like individual lore that gets added to these bits, which is what makes it fun, I think.
The conclusion is that there's Imperial worlds that are destroyed, Xenos races that sort of vanish, but they're still out there, and they're still out there. You know, if you talk about right now in the setting of the 41st millennium, there are these Xenos races that could appear at any moment, and they're
they
all
love to sparkle.
living in the Ghoul Stars.
Well, I think
they love to sparkle, you know, they're crystal. That's another thing that's throughout there.
Well, I think that's one of the really cool things. I mean, we're really kind of blowing all our information early on here in the episode, but like one of the really cool things about this idea of the Ghoul Stars and stuff is like I feel like we're really on the verge of like 40K and Games Workshop and everything about starting to see some kind of new stuff in a way. Like we were just talking about the Horus Heresy books and just this kind of like we've finally wrapped up the old shit. You know, crazy stuff is happening in 40K. It would be so cool because the thing that I was reading about this exploration into the Ghoul Stars and stuff was they initially thought, the Inquisition thought that this pale plague or whatever it was like a kind of a Nurgle thing. And they were like, oh shit, we're going to go there and it's all going to be like a Nurgle breeding ground for new diseases or whatever. But it doesn't seem like that's what it is. It's this new, it's like a kind of an alien an alien corruption, and that would be super cool if you started getting people with like
Yeah.
crystals growing out of them or something, and they're like
Yeah.
a weird alien corrupted world. Like
Well, it's
that's
definitely linked in, like you say, bringing back these odd stuff, because the reference, the Scythor Fiends reference I got is from that Xenos Libraris book by Janus Drake that we talked about a few times on a few episodes, where he's seen one of these Scythor Fiends, he says, in the Blackstone Fortress. So I don't think it's a massive jump to hope to see some Crystal Dude in the future.
No,
yeah. Well, anyway, yeah. So there's so those three examples we've just given in the Ghoul Stars. I mean that's why it's potentially a pretty volatile area of space, and it definitely feels there's something medieval about knowing these imperial systems that are on the edge of it have this big unknown threat that they live next to, that at any moment they can come and get destroyed. That I like that. But this is where it goes back to the Space Marines that are based on this cemetery world, and they're called the Death Spectres. So they were a Space Marine chapter. They are a Space Marine chapter that's part of the 13th founding, the Dark Founding, and it's one of the only chapters known, as well as the Exorcists that were created during this founding, because it's the one where some of the chapters turned traitor and everything fucked up. They're a successor chapter of the Raven Guard, which is quite fitting for where they live. And their sole duty, even in the setting of the 41st millennium, where everything's gone to shit with the Great Rift, their duty is to stay in the Ghoul Stars and make sure that whatever is in the Ghoul Stars can never threaten the borders of the Imperium again. So
did you see that they've got mutation as well?
Yeah.
They're all albinos, bright red eyes.
Which yeah, I mean,
it's
that's
just where the most Raven Guard people go. They're like, oh, it's the albino Raven Guard gets sent out to the Ghoul Star.
Bottom of the pasty chart.
And did you read about they have, like, I guess every chapter must be different in a way, but the way that they get new aspirants into their chapter,
it's dark, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell us.
They go out to find. So obviously, it's an area of space that's quite devoid of human colonies, but the colonies that they do know of, or the colonies that they find, they go there and they basically steal the best genetic specimens of women that they can find, and they basically steal them and they bring them back so that they're suitable. Well, they take them to a suitable breeding world, apparently.
Yeah, they have these breeding worlds, right? They kidnap people and take them to the breeding world. It says in the bit that I read that like
so
the local
weird.
populations are more scared of the Death Spectres than they are the aliens that come out of the Ghoul Stars.
That would be an excellent twist, wouldn't it? As if there's no actual Xenos threat in this area of space. It's just that Space Marine chapter that's all of the rumors are from this Space Marine chapter.
Well, I think this might answer the age-old question of, do Space Marines have dicks? Because these guys certainly do, and they're not good ones. No one wants them.
Yeah. And apparently this they said they've been around for a long time, and I mean, I guess they have, because they're the 13th founding, but they took part in the Materian Crusades.
Yeah, right.
Which is interesting, but
they've got a cool logo as well, a skull with two sides behind it.
Oh yeah,
it's one of those really badass.
They are super badass.
Logos.
I love all this, like, slightly on the fringe of things where they just metal it up real hard. It's like what they call the Lost Legion, Legion of the Damned, and all that kind of stuff, where they're just like, it kind of lives on the fringes of the law. Let's put fire and spikes on it. Like
it said on the bit that I was reading, Matt. I don't know if you're looking at the same thing. They mummify themselves after when they die. So they recover the bodies and they mummify the bodies because they believe that you will be reborn again in service of the Empire.
Excellent.
Of the Emperor, even.
Yeah, excellent.
So yeah, they are pretty emo. For sure.
It's weird how they've only got one Space Marine chapter based in this area of space, even though apparently in the Pale Wasting, 11 Space Marine chapters were lost in whatever they were fighting, and yet. Now the the High Lord's resolution to this is to just base one chapter there.
But it's one of those things. It's not glorious victory, so it's not like plastered all over the. It's like a.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
because it really is a thing. Like, I mean, we are talking about the like if we were living in the 40K universe, we'd be talking about proper deep conspiracy shit right
Yeah.
now because like they no one really even knows that the Halo stars exist. Unless you're like a super Ponzi rogue trader or something like that.
Yeah.
For sure. Did you see whose homeworld was the closest homeworld to the Ghoul Stars as well of the legions? In fact, if you don't know, have a guess. Which legion is closest to the Ghoul Stars?
I mean, I would say Death Guard.
Could it be the Night Lords?
It's the Night Lords. Nostromo is like really close to the fringes of this
That
region.
explains a lot.
Oh yeah.
There's some other cool dudes that hang out in the Ghoul Stars as well, favorites of the show. This is where Drazak and his kingdom of bone and the flayed ones live.
Oh yeah.
So when the flayed
yeah.
ones aren't in their pocket dimension, they have a kingdom here that's like a whole world made of bone and rotting flesh.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the things. I mean, every time we're talking about places in the Ghoul Stars, every section we talk about, there's Necron worlds because they're just like these are old stars or whatever. So they could be sleeping. But like all the Necron worlds in the Ghoul Stars are Flayed One worlds, right? They're all like there's something they've all gone a bit nuts. Yeah.
And they just do. They're basically just pirate round, getting bits of meat to try and eat and stick to themselves. Because that's what Flayed Ones do, and it's where the Flayer curse is. So I think that trilogy I said I was reading recently, the Necron trilogy, the Thrice Dead King, there's a load of stuff where they have to go to Drazak and ask him for some stuff because they're afflicted by the Flayer curse and they're trying to cure it. So I think when the next book of that comes out, we might get some actual fleshing out of one of the regions within these Ghoul Stars, which would be pretty cool because everyone loves a flayed one.
Definitely. Flesh out the flayed ones. That's what I say.
Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bill, yo.
The other places, a little bit more boring. I mean, the Eastern Fringe is basically just like a nice bit of space, it seems like. It's just the Astronomicon. We're all fucking up the Astronomicon. Astronomicon. But it doesn't reach there. But it just seems like a pretty chill bit of space. There's a bunch of Tau there. I think it's very close to where the Ultramarines live, so it's going to be boring. And a bunch of other stuff, right? They've got I'm pretty sure it's just like a kind of a pretty normal area of space where like rogue traders stop and they can do a bit of illicit dealing under the table and stuff because there's less observing inquisitorial eyes on them and stuff like that. So it's a bit more like a kind of a free space. So there's a lot of Tau guys here. There's a lot of sleepy Necron worlds. And this is also the first place where the first Tyrannic War took place. Right on the edge of Ultramar. And also the site of the Damocles Gulf Crusade.
So this is like the first bit against the Tau, right? The Damocles Crusade.
It would appear so. And High Fleet Behemoth.
Oh. 3-on-1, Games Workshop's only way to get out of a war. Let's introduce a third player so that we could remove the Space Marines without them all dying.
So first contact with the Tau made here. This is the entry. This is the place where we have up until now met new Xenos races.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
and killed them.
So like near there, not quite there, but that's where all the Pariah Nexus shit is happening as well. Where Zeraz has quietened down space and calmed down people's souls. It's not quite on the edge, but it's in that side of the soul system as well.
So I think basically it's just a place for like freewheeling people to go and fight aliens, or like, but they need to keep an eye on it. And obviously the Ultramarines world's quite close, so they're good at fighting aliens.
It's interesting though, because maybe like if we were doing this podcast on the Halo Stars, like, I don't know, 20 years ago, pre-Tau, pre-Necron fleshing out, we'd be like, oh, there's this interesting region of space on the Eastern Fringe. Like, there's, I wonder what's going to pop out of there. And then, oh, shit, there's a whole Tau Empire. So it just kind of shows that when we're talking about Ghoul Stars and the region near the Calixus sector and like where is on the map as the Halo Stars, GW can do anything in these areas. They are massive regions of space that could be hiding an entire interstellar empire that is just not mentioned or not known about.
I think, like we said before, it's like an interesting time in Games Workshop, and these were obviously a way. This is a bit like the warp for aliens. You know, you can introduce what you want through some of these places. So, so that's interesting. And probably, the Eastern Fringe is probably the least interesting place on the map here. But like, it's kind of like everything we talk about with the Halo stars is the kind of cruising through space bit is fine. It's when you start like touching down on planets and stuff is where things like get into trouble.
Yeah, definitely.
Unless you're a navigator, and then
feel like you're
don't
always
go in the
trouble
warp
if you're a navigator.
Yeah.
I smoke weed, eat pussy every day.
The other incredibly boring bit of the Halo stars is called the Veil region, which is a place that's kind of like largely like unknown, so hidden under a veil. Editor Stoney, back at it again. In this next part of the show, I stumble through some crudely scrawled notes about the Veiled region and do a terrible, terrible job of it. So I'm back again to put the record straight and tell you the facts about the Veiled region of the Halo stars. The Veiled region effectively acts as the reflective sulk spot for the Imperium's unwanted, inhabited by several aliens and human beings, but still mostly uncharted and unwatched. It's kind of the Wild West and boasts unrestricted trade and violence. It's home to pirates and thrill seekers alike. The Soul Drinkers Space Marine chapter also lives in this region, and these guys have a crazy history that goes on for pages and pages, but in a nutshell, they kind of go chaos-y without knowing it, but then realise that it's all just a big teach plot that they've been tricked by. Dawn puts them on some kind of trial. Some of them escape and they run off to this Veiled region to sulk forever, and although they're not chaos-y, they do hate the Emperor and all Imperium stuff, so they're kind of like non-chaosy renegades. So that's a little something about the Veiled region.
So should we move away from the more unbulked regions then towards one that's kind of extended, which is the bit that's on the map as Halo stars? Because we know that the entrance point to that is the Calixus sector, which has been fleshed out. I think, Matt, you've got some information on the Kronos Expanse, which is within that region. It's kind of like the last bit of civilization before we went to the Halo stars proper.
Yeah. So so that we're going to go and explore this area. Yeah, as you say, it's adjacent to the Calixus sector, and it's called the Kronos Expanse. And I've written here, gentlemen, this is your navigator speaking. We are entering an area of turbulence. Please fasten your seatbelts and start to pray. Because the Astronomicon is very, very distant. Actually, it's not that distant here because we're quite close to Earth. But in the map, we're sort of above the Eye of Terror. Are we not? I think so.
Yeah, north of the Eye of Terror. So, regionally, it's galactic northwest.
Yeah. This area was untouched by the Emperor's Great Crusade 10,000 years ago, and because of that, the Imperium is only really starting to explore it at the moment now in the 41st millennium, and there are efforts to move into the Expanse, and that's being led by rogue traders and explorator star fleets, which I think we've mentioned this Expanse in the Rogue Traders episode, I'm sure. But it's an area of space that is accessed through what is called the Kronos Passage, which is also known as the Maw. So it's like an area. It's one of those visible areas of the map that they draw on the star charts, like the Eye of Terror was, and now the Great Rift. And it's a treacherous but navigable route through the Great Warp Storms. So as we say, it's north of the Eye of Terror. It's a very, very dangerous bit of space. But this Great Maw is where navigators in ships can actually go through. And because of that, it's becoming quite a strategically important area of space. And there's a way station or a big port station called Port Wander, which I read into because I thought it was quite interesting, and that's been set up by the Imperial Navy. But basically, there's this passage into the space, and then there are no defined warp routes. So you sort of go in, and then you're left to your own devices then to
Well, that's
find
just
your
it.
way.
It's kind of the Kronos expanse is actually kind of pretty chill, but it's just amongst like a bunch of like
Amongst nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
kind of considered to be a pocket dimension.
Yeah.
Where
Feel like an
because it's-
oasis, really.
An
Yeah,
oasis,
basically, 'cause
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so hard to get to. But when you're there, like all the planets, I saw a map drawn by a rogue trader, which had literally all the planets. They're like, this one has a bunch of gold on it. This one has a bunch of, like all the minerals. It's very mineral rich area.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like the last jumping off point for those that want to go into the unknown of the Halo Star's real.
Yes.
And I think there's kind of like big ports there, isn't there? And
well,
people
this
making
is
money off of like dynasties managing to pop in and out of the near reaches and sell crazy things they've found. And
it's the
hubbub
classic
hive of scum and villainy, I think.
Yeah, it's the classic rogue trader era RPG setting. Because in the middle of this passage there is an Imperial Navy way station called Port Wander, which was founded in the 40th millennium by the Imperial Navy, and it's a massive void station on the edge of the Drasus Marches subsector of the Calexis sector in the Rubicon 2 system, and it's regarded as the last bastion of the rule of the Emperor of Mankind. So this huge space station is where rogue traders will come, and civilian vessels, trading vessels, Imperial Navy vessels, before either they pass through into the Kronos Expanse or they come back into the Imperium. And it's the last bastion of the Imperium, and it's been built and equipped as a staging ground to investigate. Apparently, over the last few hundred years, hundreds of vessels have gone missing in this area of space. So the Imperial Navy built it to base Battle Group Trajan, which was assigned to carry out deep patrols into the Kronos Expanse. So it started as a Imperial Navy space station for a fleet, but then nothing really happened. So the Imperial Navy decided to withdraw all the warships and send them off to other areas of space where they were needed. So consequently, this has sort of become, like a bit of over a few hundred years, it's been built up, and it's just become more of a civilian way station. Whereas reading about it, there's all the classic Imperial stuff there, but there's, drug dens, gambling dens. Apparently it's like a small hive city in space. So there's the equivalent of the Underhive. There is actually an Arbites station on board as well. And the Imperial Navy have basically just withdrawn to the command center. But there are banks of weapon systems. But I think you can see it as a hive city in space. So there's all sorts of shit going down. I don't know if Xenos would be welcome on
I'm sure
there.
there's a few Dark Eldar in
but there
some
must
robes
be,
looking for some fancy new concoctions.
Yeah, and lots of as you say about trade and families and power. There's lots of guilds, and there's some palaces on this space station where the guilds have become really powerful. Apparently, some of them have quite a big influence over what the Navy do or don't do. And I was reading about
it sounds like
large
Portsmouth.
taverns.
Is it
Yeah,
Portsmouth?
well, yeah, and there's large taverns. I was reading about one tavern called the Voidfarer's Rest, which is near the Basilica, frequented by Navy officers, operated by ex-Navymen. It's covered in military decorations and battle prayers inscribed on yellowed parchment. And the custom is that senior captains and command crew don't go there if you're in the Navy, so that the mid and lower officers can go out and have some fun. But civilian captains and civilian officers are welcome. But there is a custom for friendly rivalry and duels and brawls.
But maybe actually Portsmouth's probably being unkind to Portsmouth. Sounds more like this place is like Tortuga. Like secret pirate way station port where you never know who's going to turn up in your pub that evening.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Stony was or like a bit like Wild West, but it is a bit like 17th century West Indies or somewhere like that. Yeah.
But this isn't I mean, the Imperium have had a bit of a history of trying to claim this area, like trying to make some progress into the Halo Stars section of the Halo Stars, as confusing as that is. I believe old Solar Macarius once ran a bit of a campaign there.
Yeah, so he was running what's now become known as the Macarian Crusade, which was Lord Solar Mac's big crusade for 7 years, conquering over 1,000 worlds on this crusade. And he reaches the edge of the Halo Stars proper, and his men are tired and they think it's spooky and they don't want to go in. And he's trying to push his men forward. They're like, we've lost loads of people. We need to push onwards to extend the realm. And they manage to wear him down and convince him to turn back. And he dies en route back to Terra. And it says that he dies out of sadness that he hasn't managed to continue his conquering, which is just another nail in the Solar Mac is Alexander the Great coffin. This is like, he's reached the edge of what he can claim. He thinks he can claim more. He wants to claim more, but his men aren't having any of it. They want to go home. They want the crusade to be over. And then, he dies on the way back. So even he doesn't get all the way into the Halo Stars. And he has a quote that he says about this and about the Halo Stars.
There exist out there in the unbroached void of night and in the deeper darkness beyond, things so terrible and vile that they would devour us and destroy everything we have made. And why? Because they fear us, and rightly so, for we are humanity and the stars are ours.
Which is a nice way of him saying, my men ran away because they were scared and we had to give up the crusade. It's real imperial propaganda.
Yeah. There was even a point where his men thought they were going to have to properly mutiny and kill him, isn't there? They were like, oh shit, this is too much. We're just going to have to, push old Solar Macarius out an airlock or something.
Yeah, he's gone too far. We don't want to do it anymore. So even the will of a great man can't sustain people outside of the Astronomicon.
Yeah.
Although trade and money can.
It seems to be, really succeeded where Solar Macarius failed. Yes, absolutely.
Sure. I did find, I don't know, Stoney, did you find anything about any regions within the Halo Stars themselves?
Not really, no.
It was hard. Like, everything I kept coming up to was like, and we know nothing about them because no one's really been there. And those that have ventured into there die and don't come back.
It all seems like a lot of the alien races we've speculated on in the past, like the Slan and things like that, seem to be kind of blamed on this area of space, as in like that there's something here that, but it's also kind of like the Halo Stars give off like a weird feeling as well.
Yeah.
There's this weird thing where it's just like people don't want to go there, where it's just weird.
I wonder whether I'm thinking whether that might be like if you're moving outside of the Astronomicon, is it because you're not being touched by the Emperor's presence anymore?
But I think more so than like the Ghoul Stars and things like that. This is supposed to be because it is kind of no joke. There's definitely been some other races that have had a go at traversing the Halo Stars, and it hasn't gone very well for them. Like for instance, I don't know if you know about this, but there's no Tyranids come through this section of the Halo Star space. Because the only Tyranids that ever did try to come through kind of went mad and turned into kind of weird zombie Tyranids. And so there's a bunch of weird zombie Tyranids living around there.
That's interesting.
But a lot of it is to do. It kind of seems like there's, we talked about the Slough in the past. This weird kind of like death,
like maggot people.
Yeah, maggot people, but they're always kind of around death and destruction. And there's something very death and destruction-y about the Halo Stars. Like, I don't know if you guys ever heard about Halo devices.
No.
So these are some of the most sought after, and also, like, I don't know why you would ever seek one out devices in the whole of 40K.
One of them.
Yeah, kind of horror 40K stuff, basically. So these are things like you go to a planet, everything seems chill, like there was a race of people that lived there, and then all of a sudden they've gone. So it's just like this kind of like all palaces and like buildings and all like this, kind of refinement all there, and there's these beautiful pieces in jewelry there, and these pieces of jewelry are called halo devices. So some of them are ones that they're anything that you would wear, and you kind of think of that. You might think, oh, this is something cool, I'm going to put this on.
I think this rings
like
a bell.
digital weapons, like the Jacaro.
Don't they make you go mad or something?
They do. They make you go mad, Matt. There's 3 phases. They can happen in indistinguishable amounts of time. So some of them might happen, all phases might happen over a course of a couple of days. Some of them might take 100 years, all the rest of it. But phase 1 is you basically get double R'd. You're like advanced, you're like steroided up, basically. You've got you're fucking for hours. You got big old muscles, like sprinting, beating the shot put record, just living your best life, and everything's going great. And then all of a sudden it's like phase 2, you start becoming a bit of a Dracula type. You start kind of outliving all your friends and all the people that kind of kept you grounded or whatever. You start going a bit mad, developing a bit of a taste for blood, possibly start eating people. In fact, almost definitely start eating people. It seems like that is a big part of it, is you kind of become a cannibal. And the Halo device itself becomes fused to your flesh, so that the only way to remove it would be by killing you. And then phase 3 is you become a straight up monster who can speak dead alien languages, and you're like a weird you're super strong. You've got all the kind of you don't remember anything of yourself, but you remember weird things from extinct alien races and stuff like that. So it's
is this like those idiots think are in vaccines? This is like the Bill Gates microchip, is it?
I think so, yeah. So this is basically vaccines, essentially. So if you're vaccinated, look forward to the monsterizing. But yeah, so phase 3, or the Pfizer stage, as they call it, is going full monster. And there's some really cool depictions, drawings and stuff of these monsters on the internet. And and weirdly, they sort of draw them all a bit like the Nazgul, those guys that have the But I think this is really cool because, again, I sort of touched on this earlier, but this kind of idea of Xenos corruption, I think, is super fucking cool. And when they're looking for new stuff to make a threat in the future, I think that the Halo stars have got some pretty cool, nasty bastards in there.
Yeah, for sure. I did manage to find out 2 worlds that are mentioned that are within the Halo stars. One was called Kethlin, which is mentioned in one of the earlier Horus Heresy books. And it was a world of a really pretty sounding, lovely world of lakes and trees and mountains and megafauna, like giant cows roaming around. And there was a really primitive human tribes that lived there. And the world was found in the Great Crusade and brought to compliance really quickly because these were dudes with axes and spaceships came down. So the Imperium only left a handful of Administratum and Admech people on the planet. And then the Warhounds came back 20 years later, and these cavemen had butchered and massacred all of the Admech and Administratum that were left there. So the Warhounds went down to teach them a lesson, blew them all to pieces, massacred them all, but they didn't show any fear until the Warhounds knocked down these stone menhirs and temples. And when they knocked down the temples, the rocks came to life and turned into giant megafauna rock creatures. And the Warhounds tried to shoot them with the artillery and were like, this is doing nothing. So they ended up cyclonic torpedoing the entire planet because it was full of rock monsters, which is a really non-40K thing in my head, rock monsters. It's really kind of, I don't know, Japanese style.
I like the way, a bit like how the goblins in Warhammer Fantasy can just kind of they're just oh, we can just put anything in that range and it just works. I think this would be cool if we had some alien stuff where oh, we've got some rock monsters in there. It's fair play.
Combined armies of the Halo stars. So that was cool. And then one other thing that I found that is potentially massive for 40K is a thing called the Breath of the Gods, which is a weapon that the Eldar call the Koanyag. And it's this weapon that is able to siphon the energy of stars, but it can siphon the energy from a star both from the present, the past, and the future. So it can siphon the entire life energy of a star into like beings, and the Catan used to use them as kind of like straws. I think this is basically a Catan straw, and one of these existed within the Halo stars. And a Magos called Tezok got his hands on it and started pissing around with this crazy technology. And then he captured a Hrud, because the Hrud can manipulate time, and he was trying to work out if he could use this straw to suck the life from all of the suns across the galaxy, which is kind of mental. And then another Magos comes along, and the Bealtan Eldar join him, and they end up destroying this weapon. But it's crazy to think that this weapon exists in the Halo stars that was capable of like draining all energy from all of the stars potentially in the entire galaxy. So this is like, I don't know. I think this is just when Games
Wouldn't that
Workshop
just
writers
make
take
one
mushrooms.
Catan too powerful to like surely if you like if you'd have to give the end of the straw to somebody, right?
Well, exactly. Yeah, I suppose so. I don't think this
The Emperor.
Magos was able to suck on it.
Yeah.
But maybe if you could drain energy from stars around the galaxy. The other thing that I saw mentioned but I couldn't find really backed up was the the Necron array, the like entire galaxy
Oh yeah,
that they
yeah.
can
With the
control, where
pylons.
like the voodoo galaxy where they can like make stuff happen in miniature on the planet. That's in the Halo stars.
There's this place called the Agrarian Domain. Agrarian. It's called the Agrarian Domain, and it's like a small Xenos empire of a handful of stars that are close to each other that's just abandoned. So the whole civilization, there's just buildings and no evidence of why all these planets are just abandoned. It says there's tightly packed structures, a vast maze in 3 dimensions, walls and corners, hundreds of meters high, extending in belts for thousands of kilometers across desert plains on a few of these worlds. And they're claustrophobic, smaller than humans, so humans struggle to fit through all these passages. And
Sounds
it's
like
just
Space
all
Skaven
abandoned.
to me.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
Space Skaven sewers. The Skaven are back big
Yeah.
time in Sigma.
Whoa,
I saw
yeah.
on that new trailer.
Well, they do. Some people do say that. Oh, this is where the Rangdang are. That
Ah.
they've all
Yeah,
like
the
fleet to
little-
the Halo stars and are like kind of rebuilding their forces and waiting their time to strike.
Yeah. There's also mentions of and I think we spoke about this at some point when we were talking about the core of the galaxy, because the stars, as well as the stars we're talking about around the edge of the galaxy, the stars in the middle are all a bit fucked up because there's all the weird gravity effects and time effects. And we spoke about how it'd be interesting if there would be a pre or non-imperial human civilization there. And I think there's mentions of that in this stuff about that you read about the Halo stars, where there could be ancient civilizations or human empires still out there that maybe even the Imperium knowingly leaves alone, or whether they're just so far away from the power of the Imperium that they're sort of safe. But I've always thought that would be quite an interesting aspect to explore. Non-imperial 41st millennium humans.
Yeah,
I think that would be cool. But then I guess that's basically what the Votan are, really.
Yeah. But like with all of this, I think regardless of how accurate or not accurate any of our research has been on this incredibly difficult to research aspect of the lore, these regions just mean the writers can do what they like. And I think that's fun as a fan, that you can make stuff up and say, yeah, it's in the Halo stars. And as an author, you can make anything come out of these regions that they've purposed. It's like the Missing Legions, but for the creative lore team of Games Workshop that they've purposely gone. We don't know anything about this.
This is exactly what I was thinking. I mean, maybe we didn't do as much research as was properly necessary to do a full episode on the Halo stars. But at the same time, everything that I did do, I really did feel like this is where the next big thing in 40K is going to come from. That's not like, just a kind of a rehashing of the old lore, because like it is so set up for like, you could have so many new factions from this entire area, and it just takes a small expanse, like just a step back from every faction to suddenly be in the Halo stars and be dealing with something Halo stars related.
I think it'd be really cool if they pull together a load of stuff we know exists that wouldn't hate each other, but has probably gone like, we're all refugees here. Let's team up against the Imperium. Like, if all of these things we know, oh, there's a few Hrud left, there's a few Slan left, there's some Spore left, and make an army that's like renegades.
I think even cooler than that. I reckon let's see the Crystal Men. Let's see whatever's like. Let's see the monsters that surely there's been enough of these Halo devices distributed around to like reveal what these monsters are or something like that. I think it's time to, and it'd be good as well because you could keep it back in with the whole rogue trader thing. You could be like, oh, we're going old school, we're going rogue trader. They're doing an expanse out into the new part of space, new aliens, all that kind of stuff. Like, it would push the lore along in a really fun and acceptable way. As a long-term player, I would say, like, because we talk all the time about change in 40K on this show, and at the same time, we're all curmudgeonly old bastards that doesn't really want to see it change like massively. Do you know what I mean? We want it. We want change, but in the right way. We want
signposted change.
We want signposted, predictable changes that we've seen before from our childhood. But if they want to stop doing that and they want to start moving it into a way which is acceptable for old timers like us, then I think that these Halo stars really do have the potential for that there, because they've had enough time to beef out the lore enough to get us interested in it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Even like a box game set here would be great.
Absolutely.
A Rogue Trader box game like Blackstone, but you're like moving your ship around and you go to different planet and you fight different things. That'd be amazing.
Even, on the last episode, we were talking about, maybe that codex is the whatever they're called.
Imperial Agents.
Imperial Agents. What better to pair with them than a bunch of weird Zotes and monsters and other shit,
Or possibly an alternative setting to the reboot of Battlefleet Gothic, where instead of the Gothic War, which was the 12th Black Crusade, so that's long gone, they have the same game but set in the 41st millennium, and you're either like a rogue trader fleet or an Imperial Navy fleet, and you're in the Halo stars getting up to all sorts of shit.
That is such wishful thinking, though. They barely have ships for the known Xenos races.
Never mind the made up ones.
I can't wait for the Plutonian release of Battleship Gothic.
But well, I mean, you say that, you laugh, but the Halo stars, as we say, is a great tool where you could actually have a Bretonian empire in the Halo stars that's devoid and separate to the rest of humanity, and they have these weird rickety spaceships.
They've had all this cut off human life there. Maybe there is just a bunch of knights.
Although, having said all that, I do. Welshie, you sort of hinted at this earlier. I do like the idea. Having said all of that interesting stuff, I love the idea that actually the Halo stars are really normal, but all of the navigators look at the map and they see, like, it's classic like medieval map of ships being eaten by warp monsters, and they're like, oh my god, no, can't possibly go there. And all the rumors are like based on that.
There's
and the ships
America.
Do go missing.
That's what you're saying.
They do go missing because the Astronomicon can't reach that far. But that's literally the only thing that's bad about that bit of
Why
space.
do you always want this big secret to be something really mean and boring?
I don't.
I just want it to be like, no one could go there.
Yeah, I just
Left
think
and right is reversed in the Halo stars, so everyone gets lost.
I just think it, in a way, that's also, I find that almost more interesting, that the sheer
payoff is just nothing.
The idiosyncrasies of the Imperium are actually what's holding back humanity, and that all of this stuff is just made up superstitious bullshit. Yeah,
you're just looking for an excuse for the Bretonians like ship
Bretonian space fleet.
The big rumor for this Imperial Agents Codex is that if they're going to redo any Inquisitor, it's going to be Kotias, right? So I can't think of a better figure to go into the Halo stars and obliterate all of the Bretonians with smallpox forcibly over their planet. The Inquisitor Kotias.
They'll get bird flu off his eagle.
We said this before in our very traders thing. I mean, that's a perfect setting for an Amazon TV show.
Oh yeah, that is
Yeah,
another good point. Actually, is like, yeah, I mean, but then it's another thing where like they've got to start off the Amazon stuff with existing lore. Do you know what I mean? They're going to do an Eisenhorn thing, is what I've heard, or something. But they've got to,
yeah.
But it would be if the first GW stuff was like, oh, and now here's a new alien race, and like a bunch of like, you know, jumping the shark.
You know, yeah, it's a perfect place. It's like I said about the Port Moor. It's like perfect RPG. Yeah, rife.
I feel convinced the next big thing is coming out the Halo Stars. It's the next hot property. Make sure you buy your real estate there
Invest
right
now.
Master Chief, I've been looking for you.
Oh, hey, Cortana. Yeah, well, I'm just off, actually. Good luck with that Halo Stars thing.
But Chief, I have found a facility on a nearby planet that is housing an artifact called the Nexion's Nightmare Bringer. I think if we could just destroy the Nexion artifact, it would reverse
No, Cortana, I've told you. I'm out. I'm not doing this.
Please, Chief, it will be just like old times, don't you remember? When we used to go shoot aliens together. Weren't we at our happiest when we were nuking whole civilizations together? Won't you do it one last time? For me, Chief? Please.
Look, Cortana, you're an AI hologram. It's never gonna happen. I'm out. If the Arbiter calls, tell him he sucks. Peace!
So, last part of the show, you know what time it is, Lords of Lore quiz, and this time we're doing SoundCloud statistics. That's right. So if you're a fan who listens on SoundCloud, now's your chance for claim to fame. So, over the last 12 months, what do you think our most listened to episode was on SoundCloud? I'll give you a choice of 4, okay?
Yeah.
Right.
So, is it the Lionel Johnson? Is it the Missing Legions? Is it our Dark Mechanicus episode? Or is it our Abominable Intelligence episode?
Oh, I'll say the AI.
AI from Matt.
Good one as well.
And, well, Matt, you're right. Abominable Intelligence is first. What happened? And the Lost Legions is 4th.
Oh, blimey.
Yeah. So there we go. So, right, need to think of more questions with this now. Okay, so top locations. Where do you think, in the last 12 months, what country has listened to us the most?
UK.
Oh, it's definitely UK. Yeah.
UK is right. But, okay, what country has listened to us the second most after UK?
USA?
US, yeah.
Oh, I'm afraid USA are slouching. Coming in 3rd, Germany. Coming in 2nd, Speaker de Deutsch. Das Ich liebe dich. Meine Kartoffel kaputt. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know much German.
These are Lords of Lore ist kaputt.
Nine. Okay. So, what city do you think, bearing in mind the information I've just given you, what city do you think has listened to us the most in the last 12 months?
London.
No.
Munich.
No.
Berlin.
Well,
what?
Wow.
With 579 plays, Berlin is our top most listened to city.
Amazing.
Followed by the game playlist.
Oh, hell yeah. Germany, bigging up the Germans. We're followed by Penticuk, which I think is in Scotland, Pennycook, and Newcastle upon Tyne. So there you go.
What's great is that none of our friends live in those places. So that means someone's actually listening.
Yeah. Oh, those are all the places my mum's been in the last year. It's really weird. You know what? I think that might be all the questions I have from this. And that's all we have time for today on today's Lords of Lore quiz. There was no winners except you, the listener. So thank you. You've won 100 million points. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.